Welcome in, everybody, to Brokenhearted. I am your host, Dan Jurek. I am glad to be with you again. Happy June, everybody. It's good to be in summertime. Thank you for inviting me into your listening space, whether it's at home, in the car, at the office, wherever you are. I'm just glad to be here with you. Today's program is going to focus on what's really happening right now here in the United States, in that we have a mental health crisis, and I'm going to say a lot more about it. We're going to look at depression, we're going to look at anxiety, we're going to look at how it's affecting couples, and uh, probably more information than I can get in this broadcast. But we really do want to spend some time in looking at it because it's affecting everybody. It's affecting people of faith, it's affecting people of all races and creeds, and so we just want to address it. We want to really look at it. I am Dan Jurek. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, a licensed professional counselor and supervisor. I'm a certified spiritual director. I'm the founder and the director of the Pax Renewal Center in Lafayette, Louisiana. This show, Brokenhearted, the focus is really on healthy, Christ centered living, creating mental health, mental wellness, loving relationships. We'll explore uh, areas where we all need healing, healing our relationship with the Lord, our relationship with others, and ourselves. So tonight, we want to jump in and take a look at mental health. Um, there's a couple stories that are out today, and this is the day that I'm recording, where there's some things that are disturbing out there. Um, Many of you have heard Naomi Osaka, who's a champion tennis player. She reveals mental health struggles, and other athletes rally around her, and we're seeing that. And then the other thing that came out today that was very interesting was that Colorado Children's Hospital has declared a pediatric mental health emergency as suicide attempts and psychiatric help calls for children is spiking. That the kids say they feel stress and anxiety in multiple fonts, um, and and there are so many pieces to it. Um, I think this is important because, especially as Christians, as a Christian counselor, I have often heard people say to me unwittingly, if they just believed in Jesus, they wouldn't be depressed. If you had a stronger faith, you wouldn't struggle with anxiety and depression. Uh, I don't believe that to be true. I have seen many people with strong faith, vibrant faith, standing in hope, standing in virtue, standing in so much of what is a enlivened faith, still live with the dark night of the soul, the darkness of depression, the calamity that anxiety brings along in a person's life. And so it has to be part of our everyday discussion. It has to be part of the reality that good people, good Christian people, good people, people of goodwill, every race and creed and nationality struggle with mental health issues. Things like trauma are very real. Things like physical violence, domestic violence are very real, and they can be part of the bigger picture of why we are struggling. Being isolated, being alone, being bullied, all these things attack our mental resiliency, our emotional resiliency. And we can't be silent about it. We just can't. We have to be talking about it. We have to really be willing to name it for what it is, and it is a reality. Um, I was just taken aback by the fact that Colorado's Children's Hospital has declared a pediatric mental health emergency. A- And as I was listening to it on the car ride in today to the office, I said, "Yeah, that makes sense. That is what we're seeing here at the PAX Renewal Center. That is what my other fellow colleagues and clinicians that I run into around town are telling me that depression, especially among teens and young adults, is going up. Anxiety among teens and adults is going up, but anxiety and distress among adults is higher than it's ever been, which also has on its other side depression. Marital strife is higher than it's ever been. And so, uh, last couple weeks here at the Pax Renewal Center, we have admitted, I think four, but it may be five people in the last just couple weeks to mental health care, mental health hospitals. Um, and that has just a huge number in just a couple weeks for us here at the Pax Renewal Center. I remember my first probably 7 to 10 years of being in practice. I may have referred two or three in that period of time. But over these last several years, but especially this last year and a half since the beginning of the pandemic, it is increasingly gotten worse. My colleague, my friend Roy Pettifice, who works here at the Pax Renewal Center, who works exclusively with teens, um, testifies to this too. And I, as somebody that continues to work primarily with couples, uh, they're struggling, and we want to look though that there's hope and that there is understanding and there is care that can be had, and that no one has to go through this alone. It's so important that we do take a look at this, and by doing so, um, we kind of come together as a community and are willing to um, break those barriers where people just don't want to talk about it or get the help they need. But there's an organization called Mental Health America. It's a really good organization. You can find it, I'm sure, online. But they're committed to promoting mental health as a critical part of overall wellness. And we in our country are really making attempts to be more health conscious, right? Both nutritionally and physical fitness and intellectually stronger. We also need to be looking at mental health. Uh, we're, we want to advocate for the prevention services, for early identification and intervention for those who are at risk, and integrated services where care and treatment for those who need them can really be achieved. Um, and so here at the Pax Renewal Center, we want to be part of the problem. Part of the solution to the problem. We want to offer people opportunities, but here today on Broken Hearted, I'm really hoping to break out some key findings and then look at depression and say a few things about how, if you or someone you know is struggling, how you can get them help. That's the most important thing. You're listening to Broken Hearted here on Radio Maria, the Christian voice in your home. We're talking about mental wellness, mental health. Um, you know, what we're noticing, some key things that I want to point out is that youth mental health is worsening. 9.7% of youth in the United States have severe major depression compared to 9.2% in last year's data set. So it's going up. Now, 0.5% doesn't seem like a lot, but when you add it to the numbers of millions of youth that's a lot of people. This rate was highest among youth who identify as more than one race, too, at 12.4%. So, race and the struggles that we've had with race and understanding social justice for all in this last year and a half have really had an impact on mental health. Even before COVID 19, the prevalence of mental illness among adults was increasing. What we saw in 2017, 2018 is that 19% of adults experienced a mental illness, which was an increase of 1.5 million people over the last year's data set. It's growing, and people are trying to live with it without getting help, without getting counseling, without understanding what and how and why they may be experiencing this, and more importantly, how they can find relief. So, along with uh, the prevalence, suicide ideation among adults is increasing. We also know it is for teens as well. The percentage of adults in the United States who are experiencing serious thoughts of suicide have increased uh, uh, 460,000 to almost 750,000 over the last couple of months and year and a half. There's still unmet need for mental health treatment among youth and adults. Um, we know that 60% of youth with major depression did not receive any mental health treatment. Even in states where the greatest access, kids aren't getting help. Those of you that are listening from around the world or other parts of the United States, I live in Louisiana. Louisiana does not have a lot of good mental health services across the board in our state. We don't do real well with it. And so, if in good states, 38% are not receiving the mental health services they need, I can only imagine that we're probably closer to 50% in the state of Louisiana. Um, so, you know, what we want to do is look at even how the impact of COVID 19 has been on mental health. Using over kind of 1.5 million people who have taken a screen with the Mental Health Association uh, from January to September of 2020, here's some of the things that we've already found. That the number of people looking for help with anxiety and depression has skyrocketed. Um, I don't really want to bore you with all the statistics. I'm trying to make a point so I can get to helping us understand what depression is, helping us understand what anxiety is, mental health is, and then how do we get help. But it's important to know that it's skyrocketed. Um, from January to September 2020, 315,000 people took the anxiety screen, and a 93% increase over the 2019 total number of anxiety screens, and 62% increase over the 2019 total number of depression screens. So we're just seeing it skyrocket. Now, we also see that the number of people screening with moderate to severe symptoms of depression and anxiety has continued to increase throughout 2020 and remains higher than rates prior to COVID. Now, there's a whole bunch of reasons why, but to the person that is struggling with depression, to the person that is struggling with anxiety, to the person that is struggling with trauma or physical violence in the home, or neglect, you don't care what the stats are. You just want to know how you can get help. And please listen. We're gonna get to that. There are hotlines. There are so many different things that are available. What we're seeing too in this year is that young people are struggling the most with their mental health. Um, the increase is high. Rates of suicidal ideation are highest amongst youth now. Um, People screening at risk for mental health conditions are struggling most with loneliness and isolation. So again, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people who listen to the radio, the people that listen to internet radio. If you're listening right now here on Radio Maria and you are feeling lonely and you are feeling isolated, please reach out. Call your local parish. Call the hotlines I'll give you at the end of today. Call uh, call hospitals. Call friends. Call neighbors. But if you're feeling lonely and isolated, there is help. We're also saying that along with our African American, our Black brothers and sisters, people who identify as Asian or Pacific Islander are searching for mental health resources more than they ever have before. Uh, while rates of anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation are increasing for people of all races and ethnicities, there are notable differences in those changes over time. Um, so, what we're seeing overall, 19% increase of adults are experiencing a mental 19%. That is huge. 15% up in suicidal ideation among adults. 99.7% of youth in the US have severe major depression. So it's just so important for us to talk about this. I get so excited not to bring you these tragic statistics, but to make a clarion call that there is help and that we, even as a church, have to wake up and help our brothers and sisters in the pews that are struggling with depression and anxiety and suicidal ideation. We've got to help our brothers and sisters on the streets who are struggling with homelessness and depression and anxiety. We've got to help those that are not of our faith who are finding just a sense of despair, and we've got to bring them, yes, the proclamation and the love of Jesus Christ, and we've got to bring them to the help that they can get through mental health counselors and pastoral counselors and people who are trained in getting people unstuck from the mental illness that is plaguing us right now. We can go through a lot of other statistics, but I want to kind of jump into depression and anxiety, some suicidal ideation talk, just so that we can get clear about what we mean. And also, if you are a listener and any of these, cluster of symptoms are what you're dealing with, please get help. I implore you, please get help. Again, you're listening to Brokenhearted here on Radio Maria, the Christian voice in your home, sounding a call to all of us who need to wake up and be aware of the mental health crisis that is happening right now. It's happening in our church. It's happening in our pews. It's happening in our homes. It's happening in our schools. It's happening in our Catholic schools and our secular schools. It's happening in our churches and on the streets, in our offices. It's happening. Uh, you know, and so even when we talk of depression, there's so many ways to talk about depression. So depression is more than just the major depressive disorder or clinical depression. It, you know, that is a common but serious mood disorder. And major depression, clinical depression, causes severe symptoms that affect how you feel, think, and handle daily activities, such as sleeping, eating, working. To be diagnosed with clinical depression, the symptoms must be present for at least 2 weeks. And some forms of depression are slightly different, or they may develop under unique circumstances. So we have depression as kind of the big umbrella. And then we have a persistent depressive disorder, also called dysthymia, which is a depressed mood that lasts for at least 2 years. It's a person diagnosed with or who's experienced persistent depressive disorder. They may have had major depression episodes along with periods of less severe symptoms, but symptoms can have been noticed for more than a year, really for 2 years. Then, of course, we're even seeing postpartum depression on an increase right now because so many women, especially last year, my daughter and one of my colleagues included, had to give birth during the COVID experience. And so families could not gather around the same way. Families couldn't rally around to help the new couple and the new parents. Um, and it became such a challenging time for the new mom. And postpartum depression is much more serious than the baby blues. Okay. Uh, Relatively mild depressive and anxiety symptoms that kind of typically clear with 2 to 3 weeks after delivery. But beyond that, many women experience after giving birth, women with postpartum depression experience full blown major depression during pregnancy or even after delivery that doesn't go away. And the feelings of extreme sadness and despair and anxiety and exhaustion that accompany postpartum depression may make it difficult for new mothers to complete the daily tasks and care of for themselves and for their babies or for their family. And so, if you or someone you know has had a child this year, um, be on the lookout for the signs of depression. And if you notice them within yourself, new moms, ask for help, get help. If you're seeing them in your daughters or in your sisters or in your friends or in your wives, seeing these symptoms, talk with them, discuss it with them, and 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 and, and encourage them to get the help they need. Um, we also have psychotic depression, which occurs when a person has severe depression plus some form of psychosis, such as having false fixed beliefs like delusions or hearing or seeing upsetting things that others can't hear or see, hallucinations. And these psychotic symptoms typically have a depressive theme, such as delusions of guilt or poverty or illness. Um, we also have seasonal affective disorder, which is characterized by the onset of depression during the winter months when daylight decreases greatly. Even here in South Louisiana, we experience it. I know we as a staff notice that come October, November, December, January, seasonal affective disorder becomes more a part of things. And it lifts generally during spring and summer. Winter depression, typically accompanied by social withdrawal or increased sleep, weight gain, can all be part of seasonal affective disorder. There are then, the more complicated mood disorders that are out there. Bipolar disorder is different from depression, but it is included in this list, and because someone with bipolar disorder experiences of extremely low moods that meet the criteria for major depression, called bipolar depression. But a person with bipolar disorder also experiences extreme um, euphoric, extreme irritability, extreme feelings of agitation, moods called mania, or a less severe form called hypomania. So there can be so many other um, types of depressive disorders that can fall into little clusters, situational disorder and disruptive mood dysregulation, and things diagnosed with children and adolescents. But these are the big ones. And again, if you or someone you know is struggling with any of these that I just mentioned in the overview, please contact somebody and get help. And the first place that I'd say is reach out to us here at the PAX Renewal Center. You can go to our website, www.paxrenewalcenter.com. You can reach out to me Dan Jurek at my email address, dan@paxrenewalcenter.com. Let us know that you're one of the people um, who heard us on Radio Maria, you're struggling and you need some help. And if we're not the ones to be able to help, we will make sure that you get the help you need, or we will for sure refer you to, if you're not here from Lafayette and you can't do virtual or something, we'll find people and we'll help you find people. This isn't what we do, but this is the service we need to bring to people right now who are listening here on Radio Maria and have no other place to call. So if you don't call your church, if you don't call a friend or a family member, you don't know who to call, contact us, please. Go to www.paxrenewalcenter.com. Email me directly, dan@paxrenewalcenter.com, or our phone number here is 337 993 1960. If If you need help, please reach out and get the help. Before we kind of go into the signs, the symptoms of depression, talk a little bit about anxiety, and then how you can get help, I want to kind of come back to some of the other services that we offer at the Pax Renewal Center. Again, you can go to www.paxrenewalcenter.com. There you can sign up for our weekly newsletter. It's called Friday Focus. It's kind of a collage and a smorgasbord cafeteria line of a lot of different things. But also, if you go to our website, you'll also see where we have webinars and relationship information. We've got some podcasts that are there, topics on psychospiritual health and wellness. You can find out about our counselors here at the Pax Renewal Center by going to our website. And so just also know that if you live in the state of Louisiana and you can't get to us by car, by traveling, you can get to us virtually. We all of us are able to do online counseling right now. We can do virtual counseling. We will send you a secure link and you can do that. But please, if you have any questions, if you've got any comments about today's program, if you've got any suggestions or topic for future programs, or you just need to reach out, please do so. Reach out to me at my email address, dan@paxrenewalcenter.com. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Welcome back. You are listening to Brokenhearted here on Radio Maria, the Christian voice in your home. Today we're talking about mental health and mental wellness, especially the sharp increase of depression and anxiety and suicidal ideation over this last year and a half during COVID and even right before. Um, Throughout the rest of this show, I also want to give words of hope and inspiration too, um, by way of sacred scripture. Um, so if you have a pen and paper, or you want to jot this down and you're driving, pull over, please. And and the first scripture verse that I want to just share with all of you is Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 8. It says, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Be not afraid. Do not be discouraged." And while depression can make you feel lonely, God is always present to us. He is God with us, Emmanuel, and he's not going anywhere. And if you are feeling alone, please call upon the Lord and let him come to your aid. So many different ways we can go. I want to talk briefly right now, though, about some of the key symptoms of signs and symptoms of depression. I'm going to go through them rather quickly um, because I also want to talk a little bit about some of the causes. Um, but if you or someone you know has been experiencing some of the following signs and symptoms, maybe most of the day, nearly every day, for maybe a couple weeks, you may be suffering from depression. And just because you have one or two of these doesn't necessarily mean you are. But if it's feeling like this is what's going on in you, please get help. Don't self-diagnose. Go to a doctor, go to a therapist, a licensed therapist, pastoral counselor. Let them help you assess what's happening. But here are some of the symptoms that you will notice within yourself or in others. A persistent, sad, even anxious or empty mood. And it usually fluctuates. Sad can go to mad, can go to anxious, can go to empty. The blahs are even part of that. Another sign or symptom is a sense of hopelessness or pessimism. Another sign or symptom is easily irritable, or irritable about things you normally would not have been irritable about. Kind of overwhelming feelings of guilt or worthlessness or helplessness, feeling terribly stuck. Another sign or symptom is a loss of interest or pleasure in hobbies and activities that you used to enjoy doing. Many years ago, I was in a depressive slump, and I noticed that it had been probably a month and a half, 2 months before I hadn't been playing my guitar. And because of that, I said, "Ooh, something's not going right." And it was one of number of other signs, but that was a piece of it. So if you've had a hobby, if you've had an activity that you normally do and you now see you're not really doing it, that could be one of the many reasons. Decreased energy or fatigue can be part of it. Moving or talking more slowly, feeling restless or having trouble sitting still. Uh, that's that easy agitation, right? If it's interrupted your sleep, if you're having difficulty sleeping, waking up in the middle of the night, sleeping too much, waking up way too early and then can't go back to sleep. If difficulty sleeping is part of it, you also want to look at your relationship with food. If your appetite or your weight changes, it could be part of that. Thoughts of death or suicide, of course. If you're thinking in the despairing way and that somehow life would be better without you, don't give in to that. Reach out for help. Also, physical symptoms come with depression: body aches and pains, headaches, digestive problems, without clear physical cause. So, not one of these signs or symptoms can we diagnose depression, but when we have four, five, or six of them, along with them lasting 2 weeks or more, or 6 months or more, then we can begin putting together an accurate diagnosis. Um, there are so many other ways we can look at this, but right now, if you or someone you know, um, excuse me, are struggling with any of these symptoms, please reach out and get help. Now, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. Um, you can call 911 and tell somebody that you are really struggling, and they will send either an ambulance or a police officer for a wellness check. But don't go alone. Let's look at a couple of the causes. And I'm just going to go through these very briefly. But there's one word that we know really happens when depression, anxiety, it's the word is disconnection. We feel disconnected from either ourselves, from other people. We feel disconnected from our own safety. We feel disconnected from the world. We feel disconnected from our emotions. And so I want to kind of go through, I think, 7 or 8 of these, just so that you can, this may be you as well. And so, again, just trying to offer help uh, to those of you who might be experiencing it. The first one is a disconnection from meaningful work. Um, Meaningful work oftentimes gives life, gives energy, but menial work um, oftentimes brings a disconnect. And if that's the case, you may not be able to change your work environment, but you can change your attitude and your mental focus and get reconnected with the purpose of work and the purpose of how you can look at it. The second thing is the disconnection from other people. Um, Especially during COVID, people have felt cut off, disconnected, isolated, and it is really put a hurt to the mental health of our world, really. And so when we're disconnected from other people, we feel alone, we feel unloved, and so many other things start unraveling. Oftentimes, if we get disconnected from meaningful values, if we're not living a value driven life, or the things that we value, we're having a hard time finding fulfillment, we need counseling to help us realign that and to get reconnected with it. Sometimes another one is disconnection from our childhood because of trauma, whether it was personal trauma that happened to you or somebody you know, whether it's watching trauma happen, unfold within your household. Um, Childhood trauma kind of brings a disconnection. And if we're not aware of it, it can carry into adulthood. And counseling can be a great help for the healing and the restoration of childhood trauma. Disconnection from the natural world. Um, Oftentimes, I will tell my clients, get out in nature. And I don't, and I mean anything from in the early morning, standing on the grass in your bare feet and facing the sun and giving praise and thanks to God because of brother sun, and or if it's late at night because of sister moon or sister stars. or the air or the earth below you or the trees around you. Get reconnected with that which is living and natural. So often we can get disconnected from that, and it really can bring us down. Um, the next cause, and the one after that, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on. The next cause is disconnection from hope or a secure future. Right? And here we can go to, the book of Jeremiah, right? Uh, 29, Jeremiah 29, verse 11, where the Lord says to Jeremiah, he says to all of us, his people, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for your welfare and not for woe, and plans to give you a future full of hope. The Lord does have a plan for our life, our individual lives to be as created in his image and likeness. He loves us as his children, and he loves us collectively as the children of God. Uh, but we lose when we get into a hopeless place, when we don't see what's in front of us, we give in to fear. When we don't have a compelling future, when we don't see what's in store, we can get discouraged. And that is what I've seen a lot of during this year of COVID, is that people have lost sight of what's in front of them. They've lost sight of goals. They've lost sight of relationships. They've lost sight of their dreams and their hopes, and they've given into despair and hopelessness and discouragement. And there are tools that we can use in behavioral science that can help you snap out of those, that can help you find a future full of hope, as Jeremiah's passage tells us. That we can plug back into the bigger plan of being a human being, the bigger plan of being the people of God, the bigger plan of being part of something big, and we can move forward in strength and in courage. And so if you are feeling the disconnection from a hopeful or secure future, please reach out and get help. Reach out to your local pastor, reach out to a pastoral counselor, reach out to a professional counselor or a life coach or somebody who can help you get reconnected with a compelling future, get reconnected with a future full of hope. And so I hope that that helps, and really wanting you to reach out and get the help that you need. And finally, the last cause is the real role of genes and brain changes. There is now so much wonderful genetic science and so much wonderful neuroscience that is helping us understand that many people with predisposed genetic codes or health conditions that affect our neuropsychology can really bring about depression. And if this can be accurately and accurately assessed and diagnosed, there is help. There is medicine. There are talk therapies, there are experiential therapies, there are other creative therapies that can help re-stimulate neurotransmitters in the brain, that can help with physical conditioning and can help offset the genetic predispositions that are there. We never want to underestimate the medical piece of depression. But we have to also, along with that, realize that there are environmental pieces of disconnect, of detachment from work and from other people and from our values and from maybe childhood trauma or being in touch with the natural world and the other things I mentioned. It's so important that we look at all these factors and all these causes. And if any of these are a cause of depression or anxiety for you, please, again, get help. If you're feeling suicidal at all, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8259. Here in South Louisiana, we have the Help Hotline, and you can call churches, you can call counseling centers, you can call hospitals, and they can at least get you into the right place. If you have nowhere else to go and you don't know who to contact, please contact us here at the PAX Renewal Center. If we can't help, we will be sure that we get you to the proper help that you need based on what you're going through. So the connection places are www.paxrenewalcenter.com. Also, you can email me, Dan@paxrenewalcenter.com, or you can call us here at the center, 337-993-1960. Let folks know, let the people that you're reaching out to know that you heard this on the radio, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling suicidal, and you need help. Again, the 1-800 number, the Suicidal Health National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, is 800-273-8255. The phone number at the PAX Renewal Center is 337-993-1960. And then my email address is dan@paxrenewalcenter.com. So much more that we could talk about. But I wanted to gather this information so that it can allow us to recognize there is a mental health crisis happening. We're not crying out wolf for no reason. The statistics are alarming. The number of people admitted to hospitals for suicidal ideation, for major depression, for severe trauma is skyrocketing. We can see that it's affecting our home, it's affecting our work, it affects our school, it affects everything. And if you were someone that I was talking to today, that you felt either the symptoms or the signs or the behaviors of depression or anxiety, please reach out and get some help. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. The Suicide Prevention Hotline, that's a national hotline, is 1-800-273-8255. Call us here at the PAX Renewal Center, and if we can't help, we'll put you in the right direction. That's 337-993-1960, or email me directly at dan@paxrenewalcenter.com. And we will do whatever we can to get you the resources you need and the help that you need. As we come to the close of today's broadcast of Brokenhearted, I want to encourage you that if you want more information, go to our website, www.paxrenewalcenter.com. But as always, at the end of each broadcast, I invite you, the Radio Maria listener, to support Radio Maria, the Christian voice in your home. This station operates with the help of you, the listener. For so many people, Radio Maria is the Christian voice in their homes. The wide variety of programming inspire and encourage and a personal, deep, and intimate relationship with Christ and his church. So please prayerfully consider, won't you, making an intentional financial commitment to support Radio Maria. Call us at 1-888-408-0201 or go to the radiomaria.us website, again, radiomaria.us, and click the donate button to support our mission Again, 888-408-0201. Your financial support allows this ministry to continue to reach folks at home, in the car, at the office, or over the web. So please support Radio Maria and this ministry. And I know the staff at Radio Maria will welcome your partnership. And if this show today, Brokenhearted, has been a blessing to you in any way, I encourage you please to contact Radio Maria and support this station. Again, 888-408-0201 or radiomaria.us and click on the donate button. So let's close today's broadcast with the blessing of St. Francis of Assisi to Brother Leo. It's my prayer for all of you that the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord show his face to you and have mercy on you. The Lord turn his countenance to you and give you peace. The Lord bless you. Amen. Have a great day.